Living on the 12th floor wasn't bad. The view over the busy city was pleasant to look at. The only problem were the elevators. I have bad sinuses, you see, and the pressure of quick descent gives me headaches. But it passes quickly, so it's an easy sacrifice. I wait for the elevator to arrive on my floor, and it always takes a while. After a couple of minutes, I get impatient. I start fumbling around with my pockets. Now, while I'm fondling my keys specifically, I realize that one of the elevators has already arrived. It's wide open even. I hadn't even heard the ping of the floor indicator or the doors creaking open, but I shrug it off and I step inside. Yeah, I should have left right then and taken the stairs instead. The air was immediately denser, hot, sticky. The faint stench of onions, for some reason, tickled at my nostrils, but I figured it was just some dirty neighbor's lingering odor. Again, I noticed that the doors had moved without me seeing them, and that the warm, natural light from outside was now gone. The elevator jumped for a second before descending, the creaking of the walls and the cables jolting my nerves. The pressure in my ears slowly began to build, although this time it gradually formed into a horrible, horrible migraine pushing on my temples. This trip was taking much longer than I'd expected, and I was very eager to get off this fucking thing, but it just kept rattling as it went further and further down. The floor indicator still read 12, but how was that possible? The elevator was obviously broken, or at least the indicator, and suddenly I feared that it would drop. Then, just as suddenly, the lights flickered out and died, leaving me in complete darkness. The air was getting noticeably heavier, and the smell of decaying fruit filled my nose and mouth. It was almost too much to bear. I began to cough and gag. I needed to escape this elevator. I began banging on the walls, shouting, screaming for help, but to no avail. There was no reply. It was as if the metal casing had taken me somewhere else. The elevator suddenly bounced and lurched to a stop, the sound of its shrieking brakes echoing through the shaft. The indicator displayed a bright red G, the only light I could see in here. How long had that taken? It didn't matter. At least I was about to get out. The doors shuddered and crept open. There was barely any light in what looked like the lobby, but I could make out something wet coating the walls. A red, spongy fungus. There were no people in sight, only a few discarded items of clothing bags, groceries. I could just about make out a large black hole in the center of a large hall, and emanating from that gaping maw was the heavy sound of something breathing. I slowly ventured out into this dark room, the floor squishing beneath my steps. I felt a slight breeze coming from just ahead, so I inched forward to discover the source. And then, behind me, something clinked. I spun around to see a mug rolling on a table and what looked like a pale foot disappearing into a doorway. Quiet tapping echoed all around me. Well, wherever I am, at least I'm not alone. I've gotten to the point in these readings where I'm starting to categorize the creepypastas that I read. This one I would put into the yes and category. It's seems like the beginning of a story, but the scary part comes from the fact that you have no idea what's going to happen next. The annoying part comes when it never gets resolved. Anyway, stay scary, wildlings. Make the most of your nights.